The encounter. The sunset on Kepler 2219b never failed to take Nathan Reed's breath away. 3 moons hung in the lavender sky, casting strange shadows across the crystalline plains that stretched to the horizon. After 14 months stationed at Outpost Meridian, the beauty still hadn't become mundane, but the isolation was beginning to wear on him. Nathan adjusted his atmospheric regulator and checked his tablet's readings. The xenobiology samples he'd collected were showing promising adaptations to the planet's unusual radiation patterns. If his theories proved correct, these findings could revolutionize agricultural techniques back on Earth. "Composition analysis complete," announced the AI assistant from his wrist device. "Unusual protein structures detected in specimen 47B. Save and flag for detailed lab work tomorrow," Nathan responded, his voice echoing slightly in his helmet. As he packed up his equipment, a movement caught his eye, a shimmer in the air near the crystal formations. He froze, hand instinctively moving to the stun pistol at his hip. The Security Council had assured him that Kepler 2219b was uninhabited by sentient life. But after the disaster on Proxima Centauri's 4th planet, no one took such assurances at face value anymore. The air seemed to fold in on itself, and then she was there. The Lysithian stood nearly 7 feet tall, with iridescent skin that shifted between azure and violet with each breath. Her eyes, 4 of them, arranged in a diamond pattern, were solid white, without pupil or iris. A translucent membrane fluttered along her elongated neck, and her 6-fingered hands were folded in what Nathan recognized as a greeting posture. "You are the Earthborn who studies life," she said, her voice melodic yet somehow discordant, like 2 people speaking in perfect harmony but slightly out of sync. Nathan swallowed hard. First contact protocols flashed through his mind. Maintain distance, establish non-threatening posture, communicate clearly. "I am Nathan Reed, xenobiologist from Earth," he said, lowering his hands slowly. "I didn't know the Lysithian Council had approved direct observation." Her head tilted at an angle that would have been impossible for a human neck. "The Council does not know I am here. I am Lyra, Life Weaver of the 3rd caste. I have been watching you for 72 rotations." Nathan's training hadn't covered being secretly observed by an alien. His heart hammered in his chest, but scientific curiosity quickly overshadowed his fear. The Lysithians were notoriously reclusive, their biology and culture largely a mystery despite decades of diplomatic relations. "May I ask why you've been watching me?" he managed, switching his recorder on with a subtle gesture. Lyra moved closer, her movements fluid like water flowing uphill. "Your work with the crystal lichens. You understand their adaptive mechanisms better than any other Earthborn. You respect the balance." Nathan relaxed slightly. "The interconnected ecosystems here are fascinating. Everything exists in perfect equilibrium. The lichens provide nutrients for the crystal formations, which in turn create the electromagnetic fields that protect the planet from stellar radiation." "Yes," her voice sounded pleased, though her face remained impassive. "You understand harmony." She extended a hand, revealing a small object that looked like a polished stone shot through with veins of blue light. "This is for you, a seeing stone. It will help you understand Kepler more deeply." Nathan hesitated. Accepting gifts during first contact was generally discouraged, but refusing could be interpreted as hostility. "Thank you," he said finally, carefully taking the stone. It was warm to the touch, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. "You are alone here," Lyra observed, her head tilting to the opposite side. "I have my work," Nathan replied automatically. It was the answer he'd been giving himself for months. "Isolation changes the mind patterns. We have observed this in your species." "We're adaptable," he said with a weak smile. "And I have communication with Earth. I'm not completely cut off." Lyra's membrane fluttered in what might have been amusement. "Light delay communication is not connection. You humans require more." Something about her directness was disarming. After months of speaking only to his AI assistant and weekly stilted video messages to Mission Control, the conversation felt strangely intimate. Why did you really come here, Lyra? Nathan asked, curiosity overriding protocol. She stepped even closer, the scent of something like cinnamon and ozone emanating from her skin. My species faces a challenge. Our birth rates have declined for 7 generations. Genetic diversity diminishes. We have studied all sentient species in known space, and humans have unique compatibility markers. Nathan blinked, processing her words. You're here for genetic research. I am here for you, Nathan Reed. Her voice dropped to a whisper that seemed to bypass his ears and resonate directly in his mind. Would you be the father of my children? The question hit him like a physical blow. He opened his mouth, but no words emerged. The implications were staggering, biological, ethical, diplomatic. His mind raced through the possible responses, the protocols, the consequences. Before he could formulate a reply, the ground beneath them trembled. In the distance, the crystal spires began to glow with an intense blue light. The resonant storm begins, Lyra said urgently. You must seek shelter. When the third moon sets, I will return for your answer. With that, she stepped backward, the air around her folding again, and she was gone. Nathan stood frozen, the seeing stone warm in his palm, the impossible question echoing in his mind. Around him, the alien landscape hummed with energy as the storm approached, but all he could hear was her voice. Would you be the father of my children? And he couldn't speak. The decision. Nathan barely made it back to Outpost Meridian before the resonance storm hit in full force. The small research station hummed and vibrated as crystal energy washed over its protective shields. Warning, resonance levels exceeding normal parameters, his AI assistant announced. Recommend powering down non-essential systems. Nathan moved mechanically through the shutdown procedures, his mind still reeling from Lyra's proposition. He placed the seeing stone on his workbench, where it pulsed with blue light in rhythm with the storm outside. Run a complete analysis on this object, he instructed the lab computer. Non-invasive protocols only. As the scanner hummed to life, Nathan collapsed into his chair and buried his face in his hands. The diplomatic implications alone were staggering. Unauthorized genetic exchange between humans and Lysithians could violate at least 7 interspecies treaties. He could lose his license, face criminal charges, or worse. But beneath the professional concerns lay something more personal, a strange pull he couldn't quite name. Analysis complete, the computer chirped. Object composed of crystallized neural matter, active bioenergetic field detected, caution advised. Nathan studied the results on his screen. The stone wasn't just a gift. It was part of Lyra herself, a piece of Lysithian consciousness crystallized into physical form. On impulse, he picked it up again. The moment his fingers touched the surface, images flooded his mind. Vast crystal cities, beings of light moving through structures that defied physical laws, a sense of profound connection, and then, devastating emptiness. He gasped and dropped the stone. It wasn't just information, it was emotion. Lyra had shared her people's desperation, their slow decline, their fear of extinction. Outside, the storm intensified. Nathan paced the small confines of his quarters, weighing options that all seemed impossible. He activated his secure terminal. Computer, access all files on Lysithian reproduction and genetics. Accessing restricted files, authorization required. Nathan input his clearance code. The screen filled with information, most of it heavily redacted. Display available data on human Lysithian genetic compatibility. A single paragraph appeared. Theoretical models suggest possible compatibility between human and Lysithian genetic structures. The unique neurological patterns in human DNA may complement deteriorating Lysithian genetic sequences. Research deemed high priority but suspended due to Lysithian Council restrictions. So it wasn't just Lyra's desperate idea. The possibility had been studied, considered important enough to document, but politically impossible to pursue. Nathan ran a hand through his hair, gazing out at the storm-lit landscape. The third moon was beginning its descent toward the horizon. His communication terminal beeped. Incoming transmission from Earth Priority Channel. The screen flickered to life, revealing the stern face of Director Jorgensen. Reed, we've detected unusual energy signatures from your location. Is the outpost secure? Nathan hesitated. This was his chance to report the contact to follow protocol. Yes, sir, just a stronger than usual resonance storm. The shields are holding. Jorgensen's eyes narrowed. Our readings showed something additional. Are you certain there's nothing to report? The lie came easier than Nathan expected. Nothing unusual, sir. I'll send a complete data package after the storm passes. See that you do, Earth out. The screen went dark, leaving Nathan staring at his own reflection. He barely recognized himself, the haunted eyes, the tense jaw. When had he decided to lie? What was he considering? As if responding to his turmoil, the seeing stone pulsed brighter. Nathan picked it up again, this time prepared for the mental connection. New images formed. Lysithian children with eyes that held both alien wisdom and human curiosity. A future where two species shared knowledge instead of just diplomatic pleasantries. Genetic renewal that could save a civilization on the brink of extinction. The third moon touched the horizon. Nathan knew Lyra would return soon. He accessed his personal files and recorded a message. If anyone reviews this, I want it known that what follows was my choice alone. The Lysithian named Lyra acted with honor and transparency. The consequences are mine to bear. The resonant storm began to fade. Nathan stepped outside the outpost, the seeing stone clutched in his hand. The air shimmered, folded, and Lyra appeared before him, her iridescent skin catching the last light of the setting moon. You have considered my question, she said. It wasn't a question. I have, Nathan replied, his voice steadier than he expected. But I need to understand more. What exactly would this partnership entail, biologically, culturally? Lyra's membrane fluttered. Our species do not reproduce as yours does. We require genetic material and consciousness patterns. The process would link us mentally during the gestation period. The offspring would carry both our genetic signatures and memory imprints. They would be conscious of both heritages. Yes, neither fully human nor fully Lysithian. Something new, a bridge between worlds. Nathan took a deep breath. And what happens afterward? Would I have a role in their lives? If you wished it, our ways are not possessive of offspring as some human cultures are, but connection is valued. She paused. Your Earth authorities would not approve. No, Nathan admitted, they wouldn't. Silence fell between them. The final resonances of the storm played across the crystal plains, creating harmonies that seemed to echo his internal conflict. Why me? He finally asked. There are billions of humans, many with better genetic profiles than mine. Lyra's 4 eyes seemed to look through him rather than at him. You understand balance. You see life as connected systems, not as resources to be used. And, her voice softened, you know loneliness, as do I. The simplicity of her answer struck him more powerfully than any elaborate reasoning could have. If I agree, Nathan said carefully, I would need your word that any children would be free to choose their own path, not tools or experiments. This is the Lysithian way, she agreed. Life must find its own harmony. Nathan looked up at the stars, the same stars visible from Earth, yet arranged in unfamiliar patterns here. He had come to Kepler 2219b seeking discovery, hoping to find something that would advance human understanding. He never imagined the discovery would be so personal, so profound. Yes, he said finally, the word feeling both terrifying and right. I'll be the father of your children. Lyra extended her 6-fingered hand. Nathan reached out and took it. Where their skin touched, a soft blue glow emerged, the same color as the seeing stone, which now pulsed in perfect rhythm with both their heartbeats. It begins, she whispered. Above them, the 3 moons aligned in a rare configuration, bathing the crystalline landscape in silver light. In that moment, Nathan knew his life would never be the same, and perhaps, neither would the future of 2 species that had been reaching toward each other across the stars. He had found his voice at last, and with it, a new kind of harmony, New horizons. 6 months had passed since Nathan's decision. Outpost Meridian had become a different place, still isolated from Earth in distance, but no longer empty. The small research station now hummed with a new energy that had nothing to do with the crystal fields outside. "Your vital signs are elevated again," remarked the AI assistant as Nathan reviewed his latest research findings. "Shall I administer a calming agent?" "No need," Nathan replied, setting down his tablet. "It's just the connection." The connection was how he had come to think of the psychic bond that now linked him to Lyra. The Lysithian gestation process was unlike anything in human experience, part biological, part mental. Each day, the developing consciousness grew stronger, occasionally sending waves of emotion or sensation through their shared mental space. Today, it felt like anticipation. Nathan moved to the window, gazing out at the crystalline landscape where he had first met Lyra. The official logs still showed no contact with the Lysithians, a fiction he maintained in his weekly reports to Earth. Director Jorgensen had grown increasingly suspicious of the gaps in his data transmission and the unusual energy readings from the outpost, but without proof, there was little he could do from 60 light-years away. The Seeing Stone sat on a small pedestal near Nathan's bed, its blue light pulsing steadily. It had become his most reliable means of communication with Lyra when she couldn't physically visit the outpost. He picked it up now, feeling the familiar warmth spread through his fingers. "Are you there?" he thought, directing his consciousness into the crystallized neural matter. An immediate response flowed back, not words, but a sense of presence, of welcome. Then, clearer, "It is time. The Council has learned of our connection." Nathan's heart raced. "Are you in danger?" "No, but change comes. Meet me at the Elder Crystals when both small moons touch the horizon." The connection faded, leaving Nathan with a lingering sense of both anxiety and anticipation. He had known this day would come, the day when their private arrangement would become public knowledge, at least among the Lysithians. What he hadn't anticipated was how ready he felt for it. The Elder Crystals formed a natural amphitheater in a valley 20 kilometers from the outpost. Nathan arrived as the twin smaller moons began their descent, their pale light reflecting off the massive crystal formations that surrounded the space. He didn't have to wait long. The air shimmered in multiple locations simultaneously, and 7 Lysithians appeared, Lyra among them. Even to Nathan's now experienced eye, the others were impressive figures, adorned with complex patterns of light that seemed to flow across their iridescent skin. Their ceremonial garments caught and amplified the moonlight. One Lysithian, taller than the rest with a crown-like structure extending from their forehead, stepped forward. "Earthborn Nathan Reed," the voice resonated not just in his ears but throughout his body. "I am High Resonator Thaxin of the Lysithian Council. You have participated in an unsanctioned genetic harmony with Life Weaver Lyra." Nathan straightened his shoulders. "I have. The decision was mine, made with full understanding of its significance." Thaxin's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "You cannot possibly understand its significance. What Lyra has initiated violates centuries of tradition." "Perhaps tradition must sometimes yield to survival," Nathan replied, surprised by his own boldness. A murmur, like crystal wind chimes in a breeze, passed through the assembled Lysithians. Lyra moved forward to stand beside Nathan, her presence strengthening the psychic connection between them. "Show them," she said softly. Nathan reached into his pocket and withdrew the Seeing Stone, which now pulsed with increased intensity. He held it up, and to his amazement, it floated from his palm, hovering in the air between them and the council members. The stone expanded, its light growing until it formed a translucent sphere 3 meters in diameter. Within the sphere, a representation appeared, a DNA helix interwoven with strands of light, spinning and evolving into something neither fully human nor fully Lysithian. "The harmony is stable," Lyra announced. "The consciousness forms cleanly, already it dreams in 2 languages." Thaxin approached the sphere, studying it with all 4 eyes. "This should not be possible. Our geneticists predicted failure." Your geneticists lacked direct experience with human consciousness patterns, Lyra replied. They did not account for resonance compatibility. Nathan felt a surge through the connection, pride, vindication, and something deeper. Lyra had risked everything on this gamble, convinced that their species could complement each other in ways the Lysithian establishment had refused to consider. Thaxon turned to Nathan. Why did you agree to this, human? What do you gain? It was the question Nathan had asked himself countless times over the past months. His answer now came without hesitation. Understanding, connection, the chance to be part of something larger than myself or my species. He paused, and perhaps to help prevent the kind of isolation that leads civilizations to decline. Another Lysithian stepped forward. The isolation was our choice, human, after observing your kind's destructive patterns across 3-star systems. Yes, Nathan acknowledged. Humanity has made grave mistakes, but isolation only ensures that both our species remain static, unchanged by each other's influence. Evolution, real growth, comes from adaptation, from new challenges and perspective. The sphere of light pulsed, almost as if responding to his words. Within it, the DNA model shifted, revealing new complexities. The child carries solutions, Lyra said. Already, its developing consciousness contains patterns that could stabilize our genetic deterioration, and it understands human intuitive leaps in ways pure Lysithian minds cannot. Thaxon raised a 6-fingered hand, and the sphere contracted slightly. This is one successful hybridization. It does not justify overturning generations of separation. It justifies consideration, another council member spoke. If this child's genetic patterns can truly address our decline. The debate continued as Nathan stood silently beside Lyra, their connection allowing him to follow the complex currents of Lysithian communication that went beyond spoken words. Hours passed, the moons completed their arc across the sky, and still the council deliberated. Finally, Thaxon approached them again. We have reached consensus, the High Resonator announced. The child will be studied. If the benefits prove as substantial as Life Weaver Lyra claims, we will consider a limited genetic exchange program with vetted human partners. Nathan felt a wave of relief wash through their connection. And what of Earth? He asked. My people should be informed. Thaxon's membrane fluttered in what Nathan now recognized as skepticism. Your authorities have shown little interest in true cooperation. They seek technology, resources, advantage. Not all of us, Nathan countered. There are humans who would understand what we've begun here, who would see it as I do, as an evolution, not an exploitation. Perhaps, Thaxon conceded. When the child is born and its viability confirmed, we will consider formal diplomatic channels. Until then, discretion serves both our interests. As the council members departed one by one, folding back into the dimensional space that Lysithians navigated with such ease, Nathan and Lyra remained in the crystal amphitheater. The seeing stone returned to its normal size, settling gently in Nathan's palm. They fear change, Lyra said, but they cannot resist necessity. You did well. Nathan looked up at the stars, thinking of Earth, so distant now in more ways than one. What happens when the child is born? We begin again, Lyra replied, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder, learning what neither of our species could learn alone. Through their connection, Nathan felt the developing consciousness. Curious, complex, already dreaming of crystal plains and earth oceans it had never seen. Not just a hybrid, but something genuinely new. I never answered, he realized suddenly. When you first asked if I would be the father of your children, I couldn't speak. Lyra's membrane fluttered in amusement. Your silence was temporary, your actions have spoken clearly. As the first light of Kepler 2219b's sun touched the crystal formations around them, Nathan felt a profound sense of rightness. He had come to this distant world seeking discovery, and had found something far more valuable, a future neither he nor anyone else could have imagined, built on connection rather than isolation. The seeing stone pulsed warmly in his hand, and within their shared mental space, The child's consciousness stirred with its first coherent thought, one that belonged neither to human language nor Lysithian, but somehow communicated perfectly to both. I am the beginning,